The following video is after playing Rust Legacy for about 2 weeks, since sometime before July 4th, 2024. What is the upkeep, decay rate, etc.? Now, if you're not aware of it, you can get archived copies of current articles that don't mention Legacy anymore, or archives of Legacy articles that haven't been basically trashed. Each material has a set amount of time before any decay can start, whether it's in or outside of a shelter. Each layer above something, literally up and out from it, lowers the amount of decay or eliminates it. For wood shelters, barricades, spikes, or any other deployable item that's left out without any shelter, it can be half a day depending on whether it's made of wood, metal, or some other thing. This gets more vague the more specific you look it up. A wood shelter, which is literally basically a crate with an extra opening on the side of it for a doorway, flipped upside down and thrown on the ground, that's basically what it is, that you can put a door on, will start decaying at half a day, unless you open and close the door, unless you go in and do some maintenance. The wood components that are used to build a shelter, which are much more material expensive, take a full day, 24 hours before they start decaying. Every time you open and close the door, or interact with it, or start a campfire within it, any form of action within its perimeter, within its own walls, causes it to have upkeep. So it keeps you from leaving a shelter for a month if you only played the game for 1 day. You have to come by every day at least. And for metal shelters, you have a 4-day grace period. Each layer of your base, from top going down and from outside going in, should take 4 days to full decay each layer. Depending on the server you're on, it would have to decay a full layer before the next layer in can decay. One of the tricks even used in current versions of Rust is that you put on 2 layers, usually referred to as honeycomb, and only the honeycomb can decay. So you simply replace it or just go around with a upgrade hammer or building hammer and just reinforce it. This is before the upkeep function was added in using what we now call the TC or tool cupboard, which is a dumb name for it. Also want to point out, old versions of the game had a really derpy looking workbench, but a very complicated looking repair bench that's composed of the workbench with another part on it. This is one of the things I've noticed in a lot of video games where the least functional item gets the most blingy, high complexity design. If I ever make a video game, God help me if I ever do, I will do the opposite. The repair bench will be literally a table. I'm not going to let it be. I'll include a bling one to make fun of this problem. Anyway, use a door or a campfire in or on the structure to reset decay timers. If it starts to decay, you will need to repair it, and it may or may not be up to full health, or you may be stuck having to repair it more. This is to encourage you to build another base and let it decay, or demolish it and repair it by replacement. Into one of your 1 through 6 numbered hotbar keys and hotbar spots at the bottom of the screen, you can put the same resource or resources that were used to build the item to use for repairing it. Metal frags fix metal structures, wood fixes wood structures, and other things technically could be fixed the same way by clicking each component if there's more than one. This is a lot like doing this as a repair table function, or not. I haven't experienced a repair table or even the workbench yet, because the game is pretty difficult to do, even over the period of time I've been doing it. You stand facing the structure or object you are trying to make sure you don't have a decay on. It doesn't give you an indication. Hit that number key for the corresponding resource to add back that decayed resource's content. If it's metal, click the metal key. It may take you multiple clicks. It has a limit on the amount that's done per click, simply because it's to prevent you from wasting resources. It won't let you upgrade, or more accurately, repair something if it doesn't need it. And again, interacting once every 24 hours or once every 12 hours if you're using your easier to decay temporary shelter shack, you're going to have to, you do that way. 5,000 health points or 25 days of decay time are attributed to a wood pillar itself. 1,800 or 9 days of decay time is for a wood gate external, and presumably other external items sometimes. 1,000 health points, 5 days to decay. Wood walls, the wood shelter is actually 12 hours, and wood barricades. But again, this is variable per server, and what it started off being in 2013 isn't necessarily the same as 2015 versions of the game, and more importantly, the server. 500 health points would only be 2.5 days for decay, and that would be for a wood door, which would explain why, depending on what server you're on, the door will just disappear and you'll have to replace it. You can also stand in front of the door and do a repair of it individually if it's a component added onto a full building you built from components like walls and floors and stuff. However, the shit shack or the legacy wood shelter, the upturned crate with an extra notch cut, the wood door may or may not decay and may or may not let you repair it. A workbench anywhere in it and potentially a repair bench may reduce crafting time or repair time for each, although the repair time seems to be literally instantaneous on the one server I had to do this on. Some servers give you a stone tool or some other inducement when you log in. However, they will then ban something I consider minimal a requirement, like wood shelters or the ability to build certain things. And because of the state of Rust Legacy, most servers don't have pop-up data that tells you what's going on and don't proffer it. They also don't have something like if you go into the chat box by hitting the slash or the enter button, going in and typing in rules and getting a list of rules or restrictions and or a fact. And the lack of this being done officially through the original video game, since it's been abandonware for almost a decade now. It will be pretty close to a decade for some of the versions. It's really hard to find any useful information. That and the fact that Rust Labs and a couple of other websites have been taken over by advertisers that don't care to provide any useful information and do not allow you to log in and correct errors. We may be seeing a reduction in information available, and especially on Rust Legacy, which is, again, abandoned by everybody. Warning, I can't find a way to run Rust Legacy legitimately. If a company, specifically in this case, originally it was the people who wrote it, Facepunch, and later on it was even Steam making it to where we can't even try to be legitimate with the game. Once a company tries to destroy a product, I have no problem, quote, pirating it. It's cracked versions and whatever. Again, if they would let us pay for the product and allow us to use it from the website without it excluding us based on me running Windows 7, I'd be fine with it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this game can be run on very old operating systems. Apparently, very old. Now we have rust.fandom.com having a wiki on decay, and you can look through its own history. You can also look up through archives on archive.org of the same information. And all of this is available through, Play Rust Wiki, Decay, old ID code, or another one, Action History Offset, or whatever. There's also categories that involve legacy items, and they kind of put them in the background. There are some guides on the internet. Steam Community, amazingly enough, even though it's abandoned it, still has basic navigation from 2013 that still gives you useful information. Legacy Rust, GPX, map hacks, and finding where I am on the map when I'm not visibly on the map that shows up when you hit the M key for 2015 version. I have failed, and apparently everyone has failed, to provide clear instructions that really work. If you're looking at this part of the video, client.print.pos or position or print.pos, print position, does not work on legacy versions that I can make work at all. Also, next warning, Legacy Rust 2013 doesn't have any servers up anywhere that I can access. And even though some of them obviously are written just for it, you can't get into them for some reason. All current Rust legacy servers and version checks for 2013, 2014, and 2015 all say that they are version 10.6.9 or something like that, which is a generalized meaning of it's the old Rust version. They don't specify whether they'll work at all with the older or newer versions. And this is a confusion. Again, if you were trying to make sure people could use your website, or more accurately your server, so they could play a game, why wouldn't you just make it work against its will and not deliberately put in stumbling blocks? Tell us what version it's compatible with. Some of the servers are set up for Rust 2014, which is an obscure one. Next, you can't add the ID codes for them easily as a clickable item. Get over it. You can't do server favorite, add, and then the name of it, or use the instruction you use to connect and have that be a hotkey, although you could do keybind and have it run. The point is you have to go into F1, hit net, and you type in net.connect, and then the name, like play.rustlegacy.eu, some string of numbers. I want to point out Rust Rome, RU 28015, and a couple of others like that, don't work on any of the clients I can find. They're made for some specific one. And on that point, I should bring up that there are a couple of customized versions of Rust. There's also a hack to make it work as a legacy item by importing it, but you end up having to import these cracked versions because Steam refuses to verify them, even though they're the actual files and should be verifiable by you just having a Steam account. Or it'll work. Or they'll ban you. Or they'll take your money and charge you twice and then keep you from playing the game forever. I don't like corporations doing this. There's a Rust Legacy clone that's a web browser one that's on a website, and it's under Toxic Land. There's also a couple of others. But I want to bring up that Rust Legacy 2014 has an odd one out. There's a group called Fox Studios that made a DayZ version of it with themes added in that prove that the 2014 version not only has more diversity in the sound files and the visual files and is a smaller build somehow, but it's also more easily modded in a way that is completely harmless that makes it easier to play the game. Like making it to where the door looks different than the shack so that it's not a door that's hard to see at night, for instance, which is not something you're going to get banned over. Next, arena servers. Now, I was trying to find a way to cross the map rapidly, and I accidentally run into servers that are labeled arena. They'll set up multiple map mods by loading the game as an admin, turning off dying, teleport themselves to some part of the map, build something that looks a little bit like a monument, and then figure out a place to teleport people there and use that in the thing by using a command. One of them was a Rust Legacy Arena server that used the command /arena, and then you type in a word like forest, shotgun, bolt, P250, small, and main, or whatever. All of these correspond to each corner of the map, including the original lower left-hand corner, and also one near the middle, which is the one that's usually called the main. That's north of Mount Everest. There's also one in the roadside town that represents the lower left, and the others are each corner of the map, including right next to a place I was having trouble getting to. And you type it into chat to make it work. Instead of in the console for your client, this is in the chat, which acts like a console for the server. These are hacks to make it easier to use. They're not hacks that would actually break into anything. I am fixating on the pure vanilla servers, and I'm using an obscure one that was put up by somebody who didn't even fill in all the blanks on what they call it. And if anybody knows how to make Rust Rome actually work with any of these clients, I'd love to have the comment below. So anyway, the decay time is based on you needing to show up every day and not building a Rust Legacy shelter, and some of the servers either don't let you do it at all or make it last longer than normal to compensate. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. That's what little I've been able to gather in 2 weeks of playing Rust Legacy.